Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT grammar questions out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problems that we are about to solve are the ones that you will find on page number 957. Please turn to it, page 957, and today is our lesson number 49. These are a set of 18 questions from 12 through 29. There are 18 of them. We did the easy ones that appeared on the previous page, on page number 956. We did those yesterday, and today we'll do the ones that we see in the first column, the medium ones. Let's take a look. It says George Thornton Emmons was one of a handful of ethnographers who committed their life to studying something. It goes on to say, committed their life to studying the, I don't know how to pronounce that, I don't know what that is, somebody's culture of the northwest coast. We're not interested in that. That's the boring bits. Ignore it. As far as we're concerned, the sentence ends right here. The fact that George was one of a handful of ethnographers. I left out B. What part is underlined as B? Committed. Who committed? As you can clearly see, it's alive. It's singular. That's one giveaway, and second giveaway is that the second giveaway that we're talking about one person is because it says right here he was one of a handful of ethnographers. The fact that this is plural, this is of no interest to us. The fact is he is one of them. He is one of them, and therefore he committed his life. He was one of the people who committed his life to studying something. George was one of a handful of ethnographers who committed his life to studying something. The answer is C. The answer is C. He committed his life. Not their life. Before he sprained his back, Morgan spends much of his leisure time, engaged in sports, particularly hiking and canoeing. We're not interested in that part. As far as we're concerned, this is a sentence. And of course we need the beginning part. I just realized we need the beginning part, and you will see in a second why we need the beginning part. Before he sprained his back, and that tells us sprain, ed. Before he sprained his back, the sentence starts out in past tense. Sentence starts out in past tense. We're dealing with tenses here, but then it all of a sudden, for no good reason, switches to present tense. Before he sprained his back, Morgan. What's the past tense of spent? The past tense of spent with a D is spent with a T. That's the past. That's what's wrong with it here. It should not be spent, but it should be spent with a T. Before he sprained his ankle, he spent with the T. He spent much of his time engaged in sports. That's it, engaged in sports. That's all we are interested in. He spent much of his time engaged in sports before he hurt his back, before he sprained his back. And that's answer choice. That's answer choice A. Number 3. In a world that the rate of technological and social change accelerates, frighteningly, change itself then seems to be the only constant. In a world, it says, in a world that the rate of technological and social change, that's my and that's social and that's change, delta for changes. I'm being lazy here. From the mathematics we have the delta symbol to represent the change. In a world that the rate of technological and social change accelerates frighteningly, it's very difficult to say, but it is correct. Even though we may not know how to pronounce it, it is correct. We need a verb because it's telling us, telling us how it is changing. You see, it's telling us how it is changing. Changing is the verb, and it's telling us how it is changing. It is changing unbelievably fast, frighteningly fast. Frighten, I can't pronounce it, but it is correct. We need an adverb. Besides, I don't know why I'm making such a fuss about it. I just realized that is not even underlined. Is it underlined? It is underlined, but that's not the problem. It's fine. In a world, well, let's just fix it. It's too annoying for me to keep reading it like this. What is wrong here is the beginning part here, the expression, in a world, not that, but in a world in which the rate of technological and social change accelerates frighteningly. I'm just going to say quickly. In a world in which the rate of social and technological change in a world in which the rate of technological and social change accelerates quickly, the change itself seems to be the only constant. It's a philosophical sentence. And what it's trying to say is that the only thing that we can count on in such a world where change is always taking place, is the only thing we can count on in such a world is the fact that the change will take place, because that's the only thing that seems to be something that we can count on. That seems to be the only the change itself is the only thing that doesn't change, because it's changing constantly. It's a philosophical sentence. In a world in which the rate of technological and social change accelerates frighteningly, the change itself seems to be the only constant. The problem here was the beginning part, in a world, not that, but in a world in which. The answer is A. You understand? Now let's see if we can say the same sentence in our own word. We're going to paraphrase it as best as we can remember. See how it comes out. I'm taking a chance. Might make a fool of myself. In a world in which the rate of technological and social change accelerates unbelievably, the change seems to be the only constant. Close enough. What it says is change itself often seems to be the only constant. It was close enough. Number 22. Miss Tanaka asked Juan, Miss T asked Juan, and I let's put that at the bottom here. Miss Tanaka asked Juan and I whether we would consider joining our school's team. What is wrong with this sentence? What is wrong with this sentence may be difficult to actually pinpoint unless you know the trick. And the trick is that whenever, this is a very common thing that they do, usually you will see about 2 or 3 questions like this in the exam where they mention 2 or 3 different people, and the last person will be referred to with a pronoun, he or she or they or them or whatever it is. Of course, sometimes it's going to be wrong. If it's underlined, that's your cue that there might be a problem with it. As it is here, this portion is underlined. The trick here is to ask yourself, what would have happened if instead of these 2 people or instead of these 3 people, if there was only one person, the person whose pronoun is being used. Ask yourself. Pretend Juan does not exist. Miss T asked I whether I would consider joining our school's team. The sentence now reads, Miss T asked I whether I would consider joining our school's team. As you can clearly see now, the problem is very obvious. She asked, not I, she did not ask I, she asked me. Miss T asked me whether I would consider joining our school's team. That's all. The rest is fine. She asked me whether I would consider joining our school's team. It's fine. The problem was I. It should be me. She asked, not I, she asked me. You understand? The entire project was done by Mike, Paul's sister, and I. There you go. I tried to put it as far away as I could do. The trick is very simple. Ignore everybody else, because everybody else is mentioned with a name. Concentrate on the pronoun. The entire project was done. Ignore everybody else. Ignore everybody else. Now it says the entire project was done by I. No, entire project was not done by I. It was done by me. I did it. It was done by me. I did it. It was done by me. There you go. Next one. Where were we? Number 23. The second last one. Something of a phenomenon in the entertainment world. Political satirist. Something of a phenomenon in the entertainment word political satirists are admired by conservatives and radicals alike. They are admired by everybody. They are admired by the conservatives and the radicals alike. I shouldn't have inserted the articles here. I should ignore that part. They are admired by conservative and political. They are admired by conservatives and the radicals alike. That part is fine. In other words, they are admired by both. That part is fine. And they are admired. That part is fine. They are admired by conservative and radicals alike. Let's look at the beginning part. Something of a phenomenon in the entertainment world. Something of a phenomenon in the entertainment world. Did you find anything wrong with it so far? One more time. Something of a phenomenon in the entertainment world. They are admired by conservative and radicals alike. It is fine the way it is. There is nothing wrong with it. The answer is A. This sentence is fine the way it is. It doesn't need any change. It doesn't need any improvement. How does one improve this sentence? To which the answer would be one does not. It is a beautifully written sentence. It doesn't need any improvement. Something of a phenomenon in the entertainment world. The political satirist, people who engage in satires, the political satirists are admired by conservatives and radicals alike. There we go. Before I erase this thing completely, let's talk about this word that we see on the blackboard. And before we talk about that word, the other word that just came to my mind, I want to see if we ever covered that word in our vocabulary lesson, because it is something that annoys the hell out of me when I hear people use the wrong word when they mean to say something and they end up using something else. I don't know if we covered it or not, but we'll come to it. Let me first finish this thing. Phenomenon. Phenomenon is what it is. It's the singular, of course, as you know it already. It is the singular of the word phenomena with an A at the end. This is plural. The word I'm looking for is this word. Criteria. Now you might be sitting there right now and you might be wondering, why in the hell is this guy wants to teach me criteria? It's just a simple word. It is a simple word. And if I'm making a big fuss about it, there must be a reason for it. Give me a second, I want to see if we ever covered it in our vocabulary lessons, and if we did not, I will make a point of doing so in the future vocabulary videos. As I stand right now, right here, as I speak right now, there are close to about 60 vocabulary videos at my channel if you are interested in working on your vocabulary to get a better score in the reading part. The word is criteria. I do not see it here. I'm looking at the list of words beginning with C here. Unless I missed it, unless I'm not finding it, I don't see it here. So I'm going to assume it's not covered. I will have to do it in the vocabulary video. And the reason I want to cover it is because people have a nasty habit. Just like you have to be careful, phenomenon and phenomena, you have to keep them separate. One is singular, one is plural. Criteria, most people do not realize, is plural. It's plural. And they go around proudly telling the world that the only criteria that I use was the price. Well, if it was the only bloody thing that you use to decide whether or not you want to get it, the only factor that you looked at was the price. If it was the only one, it wouldn't be criteria. Criteria is plural. The singular of criteria, do you know? The singular of criteria is criterion. So in that context you will say, the only criterion that I used was the price in deciding whether or not I want it. Do you understand? The only criterion that we used in deciding whether we should hire you or not was your hairdo. Oh, there you go then. That's it. The only criterion. You understand? It cannot be the only criteria. People use it all the time. I've heard it so many times. It annoys the hell out of me. Sometimes people do that with the phenomena. They mean to say phenomenon, but they end up saying phenomena as a singular. It is not. Now, phenomena is plural. Phenomenon, as you can clearly see in the sentence that we just finished, is singular. What number was that? Number 23. Very last one. Enough of the talk. In the past, small nations had been committed to self-managed socialism. A system under which the workers rather than the state owns the enterprises. Enterprises is a very fancy way of saying businesses. Let's see what's wrong with this sentence. Let me start the beginning part of the sentence that I left out, because it's not something that we are interested in. It's the boring bit. But the sentence starts out by saying, in the past, a small nation had been committed to self-managed socialism. In the past, the small nation had been committed to a self-managed socialism. And then they go on to say, a system under which, so far so good, a system under which the workers, rather than the state, we are not interested in that part, rather than the state, we are not interested in this thing, a system under which the workers owns the enterprises. It's the workers. Workers is plural. And this subject here is workers is plurals. Workers do not owns. Workers own. As I said, workers do not owns. We need own, the workers, a system under which the workers own the enterprises. Do you understand? And that was answer choice D. One more time. So the sentence reads now, in the past, the small nation had been committed to self-managed socialism. Let me pick it up so I can read it properly. In the past, the small nation had been committed to self-managed socialism, a system in which the workers, rather than the state, and if you insert this part, we will have to have a comma here, we'll have the comma here, rather than the state, own the enterprise. See, that's how you get confused, because you see the word state here, that's singular, and you forget the fact that this owns actually applies to the workers and not the state, which is why it's there. So the key thing, the smart thing to do is to erase it, and as you erase it, this comma will go away. A system under which the workers own the enterprises. That was the end of the first column. Tomorrow will be our very last day of the entire program that we started a long time ago from exam number 1. Tomorrow will be our very last day, day number 50. Then we'll finish the hard questions that we see in the following column, in the second column, on the same page, 25 through 29. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye now.